Guys, it's me, Amari Jazz. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a deep dive into the YSL brand and Yves Saint Laurent. If you're interested, keep watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on those post notifications. Henry Dunant Matthew Saint Laurent was born on August 1st in 1936 and passed away on June 1st in 2008. He was a French fashion designer who, in 1962, he founded his eponymous fashion label. In 1985, Caroline Milbank wrote, "The most consistently celebrated and influential designer of the past 25 years." Yves Saint Laurent can be credited with both spurring the couture's rise from its 1960s ashes and finally rendering ready-to-wear design reputable. He was born in Oran, Algeria. He died in Paris, France. He attended Chambre Syndical de la Haute Couture. His long-term love partner was Pierre Berg. His parents were Charles and Lucienne Andre Mathieu Saint Laurent. He grew up in a villa by the Mediterranean with his two younger sisters, Michelle and Bridget. Saint Laurent liked to create intricate paper dolls, and by his early teen years, he was designing dresses for his mother and sisters. At the age of 18, Saint Laurent moved to Paris and enrolled at the Chambre Syndical de la Haute Couture, where his designs quickly gained notice. Michel de Bernoff, the editor of Vogue France, introduced Saint Laurent to fashion designer Christian Dior. "Dior fascinated me," Saint Laurent said. "I was so nervous, I couldn't speak in front of him. He taught me the basis of art. Whatever was to happen next, I never forgot the years I spent at his side." Under Dior's wing, Saint Laurent's style continued to mature and gain even more attention. In 1953, Saint Laurent submitted 3 sketches to a contest for young designers organized by the International Wool Secretariat. Saint Laurent won first place. Later, he was invited to attend the awards ceremony held in Paris in December of that same year. During his stay in Paris, Saint Laurent met Michel de Bernoff, who had a connection to his father. She was known to be a considerate person who encouraged new talent. She was impressed by his sketches and suggested he should become a fashion designer. Chambre Syndical de la Haute Couture regulated the haute couture industry and provided training to its employees. After graduating, he entered the secretariat competition, beating his friend Fernando Sanchez and young German student Karl Lagerfeld. After his win, he showed Bernoff his sketches, who recognized close similarities to sketches he had shown to Christian Dior that same morning. Knowing that Dior had curated the sketches that morning and that the young man could not have seen them, de Bernoff sent him to Dior, who had hired him on the spot. Although Dior recognized his talents immediately, Saint Laurent spent his first year at the House of Dior on mundane tasks, such as decorating the studio and designing accessories. Eventually, he was able to submit sketches for the couture collections. With every passing season, more of his sketches were accepted by Dior. In August 1957, Dior met with Saint Laurent's mother to tell her that he had chosen Saint Laurent to succeed him as a designer. His mother said that she had been confused by the remark, as Dior was only 52 years old at the time. Both she and her son were surprised when Dior died at a health spa in northern Italy. Saint Laurent developed his style to accommodate the changes in fashion during that period. He approached his aesthetic from different perspectives by helping women to find confidence by looking both comfortable and elegant at the same time. He is credited with having the less smoking tuxedo suit for women and was known for his use of non-European cultural references and of diverse models. In 1957, Saint Laurent found himself at the age of 21 the head designer of the House of Dior. His spring 1958 collection almost certainly saved the enterprise from financial ruin. The simple flaring lines of his first collection for Dior, called the Trapeze line, a variation of Dior's 1955 A-line, took him to international stardom. Dresses in the collection featured a narrow shoulder that flared gently to a hem that just covered the knee. In his second collection for Dior, presented for fall 1958, he lowered hemlines by 5 inches and was not greeted with the same level of approval as the first collection. Soon after, Marc Bohan was hired to assist Saint Laurent in the spring 1959 collection, brought lengths back to the knee in a well-received collection inspired by the 1930s. Later collections for the House of Dior, featuring hobble skirts released in fall 1959 and beatnik fashions released in fall 1960, were savaged by the press. In 1959, he was chosen by Farah Diba, who was a student in Paris, to design her wedding dress for her marriage to the Shah of Iran. In 1960, Saint Laurent found himself conscripted to serve in the French army during the Algerian War. Nick Carrer writes, there was speculation at the time that Marcel Boussac, the owner of the House of Dior and a powerful press baron, had put pressure on the government not to conscript Saint Laurent. In 1958. In 1959, but after the disastrous fall, Saint Laurent was in the military. He was there for 20 days before the stress of the hazing by fellow soldiers led him to be committed to a military hospital, where he received the news that he had been fired by Dior, to be replaced by Marc Bohan. This worsened his condition. He was transferred to Val de Grace Military Hospital, where he was given large doses of sedatives and psychoactive drugs and subjected to electroshock therapy. Saint Laurent himself traced his origins of both his mental problems and his drug addictions to this time in the hospital. After his release from the hospital in November 1960, Saint Laurent sued Dior for breach of contract and won. After a period of convalescence, he and his boyfriend, industrialist Pierre Berg, started their own fashion house, Yves Saint Laurent or YSL, with funds from the American millionaire J. Mac Robinson Cosmetics Company of the Charles of the Ritz, and others. Many Dior employee staff joined him after his new enterprise. Saint Laurent and Berg broke up in 1976 but remained business partners. In the 60s, Saint Laurent popularized fashion trends such as a V-neck look in 1961, safari jackets for men and women in 1967, peacocks in 1962, thigh-high boots in 1963 by his co-shoe designer Roger Viver. Many of his designs were inspired by women's life in the socio-political climate of the time, particularly the trousers he showed in 1968. After witnessing the French uprisings of that year, Saint Laurent is often said to have been the main designer responsible for making more widely acceptable the wearing of pants by women. In 1965, he created the Mondarian dresses, and in 1988, he made a jacket embroidered by Lee Sage called Homage to Vincent van Gogh. Both pieces were key moments of his career. Saint Laurent brought in new changes to the fashion industry in the 60s and the 70s. The French designer opened his pret-a-porter house YSL Rive Gauche in 1967, where he was starting to shift his haute couture to ready-to-wear. One of the purposes was to provide a wider range of fashionable styles being available to choose from in the market as they were affordable and cheaper. He was the first French couture to come out with a full ready-to-wear line. Although Alicia Drake credits his move with Saint Laurent's wish to democratize fashion, others point out that couture houses were preparing ready-to-wear lines at the same time of the House of Saint Laurent, merely announced his line first. The first of the company's Rive Gauche stores, which sold the ready-to-wear line, opened on the Rue de Turon in the 6th arrondissement of Paris on 26 September 1966. The first customer was Catherine Deneuve. He ended up doing many costumes for her in films such as Heartbeat, Mississippi Mermaid, and Love to Eternity. During the 1970s, Saint Laurent came to be considered the most prominent designer in the world, adapting his designs to modern women's needs. Even in his sometimes lavish Russian peasant collections of the middle of the decade, the clothes themselves remained comfortable and wearable. He is also credited with initially in 1978 the prominently shoulder-padded styles that would characterize the 1980s. Many of his collections were positively received by both his fans and the press, such as the Autumn 1966 collection, which introduced Le Smoking tailored tuxedo suit, and his 1965 collection. Other collections raised controversy, such as the Spring 1971 collection, which was inspired by 1940s fashion. Though 1930s and 40s revival had been a trend among some London designers like Ossie Clark since the late 1960s, and although Saint Laurent had presented a few 1940s looks late in the previous year, for a designer of his stature to devote an entire collection to the 1940s raised some shackles. Some felt it romanticized the German occupation of France during World War II. Following his 1978 introduction of the big shoulder pad looks that would dominate the 1980s. He relied on a restricted set of styles based largely on big shoulder jackets, narrow skirts and trousers, and pumps that didn't vary much during the decade, resulting in some fashion writers bemoaning bemoaning the loss of his former inventiveness, and others welcoming the familiarity. After a disastrous 1987 ready-to-wear show in New York City, which featured jacket, $100,000 jeweled casual jacket, only days after the Black Monday stock market crash, he turned over the responsibility of the ready-to-wear lines to his assistants. A favorite among his female clientele, Saint Laurent had numerous muses that inspired his work. Among them were French model Victoria Dut Rouleau, who opened his first fashion show in 1962. Lulu de la Felice, the daughter of a French marquise and an Anglo-Irish model, who became the jewelry designer for the brand Betty Cartwright. She was a half-Brazilian daughter of an American diplomat who Saint Laurent considered his twin sister. French actress Catherine Deneuve, French model Danielle Laquette de Saint-Germain, who inspired the Lee smoking suit, American-French artist Nikki de Saint-Pelle, who was often used as a bride at his fashion shows in 1990 through 1994. Another muse was the jewelry designer Paloma Picasso. Dutch actress Talithia Getty, American socialite Nan Kemper, who was named brand ambassador for the brand, Italian model Marina Senio, who managed the YSL boutiques in North America, the French model Nicole Dorier, who became the director of his runway shows and later the memory of his house when it became a museum, and French model Lietta Casta, who was the bride in his shows from 1998 through 2001. Austin Butler is the Hollywood film star named the new global ambassador for YSL Beauty. The current YSL posse is Kate Moss, Dominic II Fike, Hailey Bieber, Steve Lacy, Zoe Kravitz, and Makai Arganaraz. YSL designs often feature designs influenced from traditional Chinese clothing. The ready-to-wear lines became extremely popular with the public, if not with the critics, and eventually earned many times more for Saint Laurent and Berg than the haute couture line. However, Saint Laurent, whose health had been precocious, Saint Laurent often was seen at clubs in France and New York City, such as Regeners and Studio 54, and was known to be both a heavy drinker and heavy cocaine user. When he was not actively supervising the preparation of a collection, he spent his time at his villa in Marrakech, Morocco. In the late 1970s, he and Berg bought a neo-Gothic villa, Chateau Gabriel in Bernville-sur-Mer near Deauville, France. Saint Laurent was a great admirer of Marcel Proust, who had been a regular guest of the Gaston Guillemard, one of the previous owners of the villa. When they bought Chateau Gabriel, Saint Laurent and Berg commissioned Jacques Grand to decorate it with themes by Proust's remembrance of the things past. For years, Laurent became erratic under the pressure of designing two haute couture and two ready-to-wear collections each year. He increasingly turned to alcohol and drugs. At some shows, he could barely walk down the runway at the end of the show and had to be supported by models. When referenced the 40s aesthetic in his collection, which he didn't personally live through, others felt it brought back the unattractive utilitarianism of the time. The French newspaper France Soir called the spring 1971 collection un grand farceur. Criticism not lasting, Laurent influence was such that the collection did lead to some general fashion changes in shoulder and lapel shape and increased the popularity of tailored blazers during the 1960s and 1970s. Saint Laurent was considered one of the Paris's jet-set lifestyle promoters. Hedi Slimane was one of the most influential creative directors since Saint Laurent to the YSL house. He was born on July 5th in 1968. He is a French photographer and grand couture. From 2001 to 2007, he was creative director to Dior Men. From 2012 to 2016, he was the creative director of YSL. Slimane introduced a touch of modernity to the label by infusing a more youthful rock allure. The designer took inspiration from the rock legends like David Bowie and Mick Jagger to focus on the combination of a slim silhouette and precise tailoring, Parisian chic with the rock and roll edge. Early in his career, he worked for designer Jose Levy, and from 1992 to 1995, he assisted. Not Levy. Early in his career, he worked for designer Jose Levi, and from 1992 to 1995, he assisted to fashion consultant and press agent Jean-Jacques Picard on the centenary of the Project Monogram canvas for Louis Vuitton. Picard introduced Sylvain to Pierre Berg, who was searching for a menswear designer for Saint Laurent. Pierre Berg hired him in 1996 as a ready-to-wear director of men's collection, where he would later become the artistic director. Sylvain expressed great admiration for Saint Laurent, yet he was not interested in paying homage to the legendary designer. He was more interested in capturing the spirit and the mystique of him. Sylvain created new lines that imbue mystery, seduction, and an element of subversiveness. During his first year as creative director, the company's income had increased by 25.3% in revenue over 2016. He had several collections that cemented his position in the fashion industry. After the black tie collection for autumn winter 2001 collection, which foreshadowed the advent of Sylvain's silhouette and the debut of the skinny look. In the spring-summer 2013 collection, Sylvain would continue this boohoo rocker aesthetic throughout his tenure at YSL. The spring-summer 2014 menswear collection, he had a sleek vision for the brand. With bold prints and paired black tailoring, the collection channels the chicness of the Heidi Sylvain man. The spring-summer 2014 women's wear collection referenced the DNA of the YSL brand with a sexed-up nod to the Les smoking suit. In the spring-summer 2016 menswear, Sylvain began to experiment with new silhouettes and fabrics, introduced distressed knits of layered pieces. Anthony Vaccarello is a Belgian-Italian fashion designer. He is the current creative director of YSL. Prior to his position, he was a creative director at Versace. He also designed his own eponymous line. Born in 1982 in Brussels, Belgium, he attended the École Nationale Supérieure des Arts Visuels de la Chambre. Vaccarello worked under Karl Lagerfeld at Fendi for 2 years, specializing in designs. In January 2009, he moved back to Paris, making his eponymous ready-to-wear collection debut, showing 5 looks in the window of the Parisian boutique Maria Louisa. By September 2014, Vaccarello was creating a capsule collection for Versace. Vaccarello spent 3 years working for Versace, initially as a consultant and since 2015 as a creative director. He went on to create several collections for Versace until April 2016 when he became creative director. He said in an interview, "I felt pressure starting men's because Heidi Sylvain used to do men's, and he didn't hold his standalone men's show until 2018. And even the clothes echoed the vibe. He's eschewed splashy collaboration with other bands and artists and avoided big marketing stunts of the kind we've come to expect from large luxury houses." And he said, "It's important to sell, but if you can sell and have a real message for real style, that's a bingo for me." Yves Saint Laurent died on June 1st in 2008 of brain cancer at his residence in Paris. He was given a Catholic funeral at Église Saint-Louis in Paris. In February 2009, an auction of 733 items was held by Christie's at the Grand Palais, ranging from paintings by Picasso to ancient Egyptian sculptures. His house in his hometown of Iran, where he lived until the age of 18, was bought by Iran entrepreneur named Mohammed Afin. He restored and transformed it into a museum which has been open since July 2022. Around 400 sketches by Saint Laurent are exhibited, along with childhood photos of him. He's had several movies attributed to him. David Toubault's Yves Saint Laurent, His Life and Times, and Yves Saint Laurent, 5th Avenue, Marseille, 75116, Paris. Another film, Pierre Tortin's L'Amour Fou, released in 2009. After his passing, in 2014, 2 more films were released called Yves Saint Laurent and Saint Laurent. In books, he's had 3 books released. In 2014, Yves Saint Laurent, A Moroccan Passion by Pierre Berg. In 2017, Dior by YSL by Laurence Behaim. And in 2020, Yves Saint Laurent, The Impossible Collection. In 1983, Saint Laurent became the first living designer to be honored by the Metropolitan Museum of Art with a solo exhibition. In 2001, he was awarded the rank of Commander of the Légion d'Honneur by French President Jacques Chirac. Saint Laurent retired in 2002 and became increasingly reclusive. In 2007, he was awarded the rank of Grand Officer de la Légion of Honor by French President Nicolas Sarkozy. He also received a foundation. He also created a foundation with Berg and Paris to trace the history of the House of YSL, complete with 15,000 objects. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you learned a lot about YSL, and I hope you was able to understand to understand the philosophy of the YSL brand. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on those post notifications, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.